Welcome, everyone. It is Health Talk, and we are sponsored, of course, as always, by Providence Health and Services, Western Montana. I'm Peter Christian. John King is over there. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Peter.
All right, and our special guest in studio is Jennifer Troupe, has a whole bunch of initials after her name, so she's very important. Now, you're a diabetes educator.
Yes.
Okay, so you could explain what MSRDCDE-BC-ADM stand for.
Okay. All right, let me see. Masters of Science, it's Monday. Registered Dietitian, Certified Diabetes Educator, and then Board Certified in Advanced Diabetes Management. Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course, those, you shorten that, make it easy to look on a business card, right? Right. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, now let's talk for a second about why are you here right now? It's the first part of November, so why is a diabetes educator with us today?
Good question. It's American Diabetes Month.
Okay.
The whole month of November. So it's really a time to bring awareness to diabetes, prevention, management, the numbers that are out there. And even a bigger point is that November 7th, this Saturday, we will have Diabetes Day at the Broadway building at St. Patrick Hospital. And it's an all-day educational symposium for people living with diabetes, people wanting to learn more about it, family members, about how to prevent, how to treat, hoping that we can empower people to give them the message they can take care of this disease. And there's a lot of resources that we have available to help them.
Okay. Now, my first question is this. For those of us who are not diabetic, okay, we hear about it all the time. We see public service announcements. We watch commercials on television, that sort of thing. But a lot of us simply don't know what diabetes actually is. So what is it?
Okay. So it's basically a disease of high blood sugar. And there are mainly three types: type 1, type 2, and gestational. Type 1, usually 5 to 10% of the population has. It used to be called juvenile onset, when basically you have to go on insulin to live because your body has destroyed the cells in your pancreas that produce insulin. Therefore, you have to take insulin externally to live.
So no. Please forgive me for jumping in here. Why does your body do that? Or does anybody understand that mechanism of why it does that?
There's research into that as we speak. It's autoimmune. So, there's some research, early exposure to cow's milk, for example, can cause that reaction. It's in the same class as rheumatoid arthritis, celiac sprue, all those autoimmune disorders. So that's one type. Okay. The type that most folks have and the type that's really, really growing is type 2. And that's about 90% of our population. There's also a genetic link with that. And I should say there is a genetic link with type 1 as well. But with type 2, there's a very strong genetic link. And that's where lifestyle plays a big part. Am I overweight? Am I inactive? Am I, eating a diet that's, very high, high in calories? So that's about 90%. And what happens with that is your body becomes resistant to insulin. And so your body's producing it, but the insulin isn't working as well for you.
Forgive me, again, I'm Dr. Obvious here.
Yeah.
I ask all the silly, dumb questions everybody else ask about this. What is insulin and what does it do?
Good question. So insulin is what takes the food we eat, our blood glucose, basically everything we eat turns into glucose and puts it into our cells to give us energy. So if we don't have insulin or if it's not working well, we get a buildup. Basically what happens is we become deprived of energy and we can lose weight, we can have blurred vision, we can our urination will be more frequent over time if if our blood sugars are too high because the insulin we don't have enough, or if it isn't working well, it can destroy our eyes, our kidneys, our nerves. And of course, it can eventually kill us if untreated.
Yes, I was going to say, for people who may be rugged individualists and say, I've heard that maybe I'm at risk, but I can handle it myself. I'm fine. Everything's good. So what do you say to people like that?
I think there's a great lifestyle can go so far, and you need to have a healthy lifestyle, but there are medications out there that for a reason. And insulin, for example, if your body is not producing enough, you need to take insulin because the number one goal is good blood sugars, blood glucose control, and that will help you live a long, healthy life with diabetes. But you've got to take some of those tools that were created. And there are a lot of folks that don't want to take insulin. They think it's a scary thing or, now I'm dependent on insulin. Right. Insulin is a helper. It's just our friend.
Well, people are scared because most of the time when you administer insulin, you have to do a shot, you have to be poked. I mean, there's all sorts of things that go along with diabetes that kind of scare people. Like you have to test several times a day, and that can be expensive, and that can be painful. And people naturally, it's our human condition to avoid pain whenever we can. So when we get into situations like that, is that where a diabetes educator comes in?
Absolutely. We can help folks learn, what type of tools, for example, testing their blood sugars. There's a lot of different monitors on the market, a lot of different lancing devices to poke the finger. We can help them find the best one. We can help them go through the proper steps for that to get a good sample of blood and try and fit into their life so their life does not revolve around their diabetes, but their diabetes fits in. Same with insulin, a lot of different pen needles out there. Really, it's become so advanced with technology that it's not what it used to be. And there's a lot of folks that don't know that. And like you said, they have fears.
Yeah. Now, you had just mentioned a minute ago early exposure. What does early exposure mean? How does it happen?
When I say early exposure to cow's milk?
Yeah, no, to early exposure to diabetes or that would some sort of early exposure that would cause you to have diabetes.
Oh, so that was in type 1, the autoimmune. Early exposure to some environmental toxin or like cow's milk that just causes that autoimmune response to destroy the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin.
Fairly rare?
It's you said 5 to 10% of the population of folks that have diabetes have this type. So it is rare, but it is growing too. As there's kind of interesting phenomenon that type 1 is growing more so. Again, we used to find this just in children, but now we see folks in their 40s, 50s, and 60s can get type 1. Type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset, but now we see kids that are 5 and 6 are getting it. Wow. And that's the lifestyle factor because you have to be sedentary and overweight basically to be at risk. And you also have a genetic risk too for that. So you can't, I have a lot of folks with type 2 come in and blame themselves. And I'm like, well, did your parents have diabetes? Yeah. Yep. Okay. You can't pick your parents, right? You have some genetics that you have to deal with. And that's what we're there to help folks handle.
Okay, we're up against a break here. We have all three lines open. If you have a question for Jennifer Troupe, and I know of the 20 or so thousand people who are listening right now, pretty good portion of you have diabetes or have a relative or a friend who has diabetes. If you have a question, this is a certified diabetes educator right here in our studio, ready to answer your questions. We'll do the best we can. 721-1290 is our number. We're going to come right back after this quick timeout here on Health Talk. We're back on Health Talk. I'm Peter Christian. Of course, Health Talk brought to you by, sponsored by Providence Health and Services, Western Montana. Jennifer Troupe joining us in studio, registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator. And we were talking just a minute ago off air about how we can tell if an infant may be in danger of having diabetes. And you had some things to look for.
Sure. When they go in for their well-child checks and their growth is measured, if we see their weight and or their growth start to dip, their height and their weight can dip, that would mean their body isn't getting the nutrients they need. Certainly they could be just fussier, more inconsolable. Their diapers they will wet their diapers more frequently, and they'll be hungry all the time. That's another sign. So again, it's rare in infants, but we have seen a few. And the big thing is take them in. It's pretty easy to diagnose diabetes. You just go get a blood sugar check. And if your blood sugar is in the range of a diabetes diagnosis, then you know you have it and you can start to deal with it.
All right. So what happens if let's say, let's start from kids all the way up to adults. When we go in for our checkup, hopefully we get a yearly checkup, or of course kids get their tetanus and that sort of thing, their shots and that sort of thing before they go to school. Is there also screening for diabetes that can be done at every age of life?
It certainly can be done at any age. A lot of the guidelines aren't that you really don't screen until someone's 40 or older based on risk factors. If you have a family history of diabetes, that's a big risk. And if it were me and it's my kids, I would screen them every year. And there's an easy test called the hemoglobin A1C. In fact, we're offering free hemoglobin A1Cs this Saturday at our Diabetes Day, so anyone can come in and get that checked. But it's a 3-month average of your glucose levels, all right, your blood sugars. And so that's the nice part, because sometimes we'll see folks fasting blood sugars might be in the normal range, and fasting is before eating, right, first thing in the morning, yet their post meals might be too high. So the A1C captures all of that. And so an A1C of 6.5 or greater, for example, is a diabetes diagnosis. A1C of 5.7 to 6.4 is prediabetes. And that's another big area we're trying to catch folks. About 30% of our population is at risk for diabetes right now in the U.S. So if you can get screened, we can give you information hopefully to help prevent it. And if you have it, then you can start to treat it so we can prevent all those complications. I don't like to talk about those ugly complications of diabetes because you don't have to have them if you get the support and tools to take care of it.
Now, I have a dear friend who's in his 70s now and has had type 1 diabetes, and he has a pump that is literally attached to him with a little port. So can you tell me how that works?
Sure. Insulin pumps are, one of the best inventions we have come up with in the 20th century. It infuses insulin. And so for folks with type 1 or type 2 or insulin dependent, it'll constantly infuse insulin into your body versus taking the injection. You usually have to change the pump out every 3 days. And if you, for example, folks, when they eat food, when they're completely insulin deficient, they have to take insulin for the food they eat. If their blood sugar is too high, let's say 200, they have to take insulin to bring it down. Well, these pumps are smart pumps. You can kind of program what you need, what we call them insulin to carb ratio, so much insulin per how much carbohydrate I eat. And you program it in there, and you can just enter in the carbs you eat, what your blood sugar is, and it'll give you the amount of insulin you need. So it's a very nice way, a very non-invasive way to really take care of your diabetes, and it's so convenient. And for kids, absolutely, it's a must.
Now, let me ask you this. Do health insurance companies help out with the cost with a pump, or is some help available? Yes.
If you have health insurance, typically they pay for it because it's proved its efficacy.
Right.
So, they do. If you're not insured, of course, then that's an issue. Pump companies do have some support, however, to help you, but they aren't cheap. They're about a $5,000 device.
Well, they're a life-saving instrument.
Well, they are, absolutely. I mean, you have to be willing to test your blood sugars and follow what the pump says, but if you do that, it absolutely is a lifesaver. There's other technology on the market called continuous glucose sensors, which are really also big lifesavers. They measure the blood sugar every 5 minutes. You insert it. Yep. And about every 7 days, you change out the set, basically, that is you have inserted into you. So, for example, you're someone who live alone, you have type 1 diabetes. Well, you take insulin. Well, the main side effect of insulin is low blood sugar.
Right.
Low blood sugar can kill you. So you have to, if you get too low. So the sensor will sense, okay, you're hitting 70 or you're hitting 60, which anything less than 70 is a low blood sugar, and alert you and wake you up so you can treat it. So the big danger of risk in death in type 1 was death at night. Well, now we're preventing those deaths at night with these sensors. So there's so much wonderful technology out there. And we want to help folks get on that if they need it.
Now, another thing that I have noticed about people with diabetes is they have to be very, very careful about getting a wound or getting any sort of like a scratch or a cut or something, some type of wound. If they don't treat it right away, the right way, it could really be trouble, right?
It sure can. And any kind of stress on the body raises blood sugars. And when your blood sugars are high, you don't heal as fast either. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So yes, absolutely. If you have a wound or a cut, folks with diabetes need to check their feet every day. If you have some fungus or a sore on your foot, you need to get into the doctor or the podiatrist to go see them, get that taken care of, get on an antibiotic, and make sure your blood sugars are under control.
What kind of things can be done if we do notice that there's something going on in our body, and especially if we're diabetic, and hopefully if you've been diabetic for a while, you become very, very attuned to what's happening in your body, right?
Well, you hope so. Unfortunately, we don't see that with everybody, but you do want to become in tune with that, and it's just part of self-care. That's what we, as diabetes educators, we talk about diabetes self-management, and part of it is your self-care. Are you inspecting your feet daily? Are you looking for cuts and scratches? Are you putting lotion on your body daily? Are you getting your annual eye exam? Are you getting your flu shot? Are you getting your pneumonia shot? All those things, because it's all preventive care, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and that is so true in diabetes.
Now, when you talk about getting my eyes checked, is that because the diabetes, if unchecked, can really damage your eyesight?
It can. If you're it's all if your blood sugars are not under control. But you need a yearly eye exam, a dilated eye exam with an ophthalmologist every year. And they can detect, little vessels that might be growing, something called retinopathy that can happen with diabetes, and they can prevent it. They can use laser treatments and prevent it from growing, saving eyes. Because, diabetes is the, leading cause of blindness in young people in our country.
This is just a terrible disease. Well, forgive me for I don't mean to be scary here, but it just sounds, it can affect so many systems of your body if you don't control it, right?
Well, absolutely. It can. It can affect your nerves. It can affect your eyes. It can affect your kidneys. It can affect your heart. It's the leading cause of heart disease. It's the leading cause of below-the-knee amputations. Alzheimer's are looking at that being a type 3 diabetes.
Really?
Because, again, high blood sugars, it can affect the brain. So it can, and yes, so there's a lot of things that can happen if you don't take care of it. But, there's a question of what happens, what's the side effect of controlled diabetes? And it's nothing. You live a long, healthy life if you control it. But yeah, you have to control it. You have to pay attention to it. And our center, the Endocrinology Center of Providence, is a place you can go to get the tools and resources and expert to help you with that.
Now, let's say I come to you and I've got diabetes and I get it under control. I'm doing everything I need to do. And let's say I need to go out of the country or out of, wherever. Is there a way to maintain my health while I'm away from my diabetes educator?
Well, the nice thing with technology is really you're never away from your diabetes educator for one.
Okay.
We have email, we have internet, there's apps that we can direct you to that can help you with that. But yeah, certainly if you're going to go out of the country, typically you want to meet with your doctor or diabetes educator, get a plan, get some extra prescriptions so that if your insulin bottle breaks, you can go to the pharmacy and get what you need. And of course, that's the nice thing is we're really, with the internet, we're never far away. You can always email us.
We're going to come up, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Diabetes Day and all the things that are going to be happening because this is National Diabetes Awareness Month. 721-1290. You have any questions? Jennifer Troupe standing right here to take your questions at 721-1290. And we're going to come right back with more of Health Talk right after this. On Health Talk, 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309, sponsored by Providence Health and Services, Western Montana. Jennifer Troupe, certified diabetes educator, standing right here in my studio. And you had told us that we have Diabetes Day coming up on Saturday, so give us the rundown. What's happening?
You bet. Very excited. This is my favorite day of the year as a diabetes educator. So we will start at 7:30 in the morning at the Broadway building, and we will go till 4:30 in the afternoon. We will have guest expert lectures, such as Dr. Chris Corsi, Dr. Michelle Danisich, Dr. Katie Brown, Carla Cox, Dr. Greg Neibauer, podiatrist.
Yeah, Carla Cox has been on this show talking about diets and things.
Yeah, Carla's great. She works at our center. She's a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator as well. We also have Joe Mang talking about dental health and diabetes. We'll have health fair exhibits. A lot of different pharmaceutical companies, insulin pump companies will be there.
Now, there's another thing we haven't talked about is as far as your teeth and diabetes.
Yeah.
So basically every aspect of your body, you really need to be aware of that, right?
Absolutely. And that's all that preventative care. And Dr. Joe has a great talk about taking care of your oral health and diabetes and we don't talk about that a lot, but it's a big part. Periodontal disease is huge in diabetes again. So Lots of experts, and the pharmaceutical folks will be there with different information, like I said, insulin pump companies, continuous glucose sensors will be there, Dexcom. So lots of information. We will have breakfast, lunch, refreshments. There's no need to pre-register. Just show up. We'll have hemoglobin A1Cs. You can get your blood pressure taken, get your weight. If you'd like. Some folks don't like to go do that, but it's always good to know. I say knowledge is power, so let's go. And a lot of uplifting, just entertaining presentations. Again, it's free to the public, and we just want folks to come and learn, come for what you can.
Now, this is not just for people who have diabetes.
Right.
This is for anybody who's interested to find out maybe what's my risk, right?
What's your risk? Absolutely. Just learn more about it. Certainly there's folks who have a loved one with diabetes. They want to learn more. If you're just interested, you just want to know more. This is the place to go on Saturday for that type of information.
Okay. Now, are there any of these tests that cost money that we need to be prepared for?
Nope. The A1Cs, our center is sponsoring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep, we just want to, take this time to help people control it.
Sure, great. Okay, so in the 2 minutes we have left, Jennifer Troupe, tell me what it is you love about your job.
Oh, boy, my patients. Absolutely, the folks that walk through our doors. When you can actually change a life and turn it around, or just give somebody the information they need to take control of a disease that they maybe thought was a death sentence. So we've seen evaluations come through from different programs we've done in the past where they say, I thought it was a death sentence. I didn't realize I could have all these tools to take care of it. That's the biggest thing, helping change a life.
Can you address the fear that someone might feel the minute they get the diagnosis, oh my gosh, I've got diabetes?
Yeah.
The blood pressure rises. You start sweating. So when that happens, how do you, if you will, soften the blow a little bit?
Sure. You just give them the information, the facts, the research. That that you don't have to be like your father might have been, who might have died from an amputation in a hospital. That you don't have to be that way. And we have, in the past 50 years, the advances we've had in diabetes medications and how we can treat it, and the tools to monitor your blood sugars are so different. And here's the knowledge we have now versus what we had 50 years ago, and here's what you can do to take care of it. Most folks walk out the door saying, I'm glad I came, and now I actually feel like I can do something about this.
Right.
It's really all about attitude, right?
Okay. So give me some contact information. Folks want to get more aside from coming to the event Saturday.
Yeah. Absolutely. So call 329-5781. That's 329-5781, which is our direct line for our endocrinology center, and we can answer questions there. There's also our website. If you just go to the Providence website and go to the endocrinology center, there's information there as well.
Okay, so endocrinology is a big fancy word for diabetes education, right?
Well, no. So our center is the Endocrinology, Diabetes, and Nutrition Center with Providence Medical Group. So endocrinology is kind of a cluster of disorders of the endocrine system.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Love to have you back on again.
Thanks.
All right, that's going to do it for Health Talk. We'll be right back.